And you kind of wonder, is there a method to the madness with Hunter Biden being in all the trouble he's in right now? So, of course, he's back in court, and this is a wild situation. So if you're not up to speed on this, I got to keep the language clean. We want to, kids got to be able to watch this stuff. Anyway, it's hard with Hunter Biden being who he is. He's embroiled in this scandal because he illegally bought a weapon, and he should not have, given that he was under the influence of the time of some pretty illicit substances. And it was well documented that he was under the influence because he wrote about it himself. What do you know? And he talks about, I'm not going to get into the gory details, but highly, highly problematic stuff. So he was on all kinds of things. He goes in, he's trying to blame, the defense is trying to blame the actual shop owner for this. I don't think ultimately that flies, right? Again, I think that as an American, you kind of have to have faith in individuals, and you're supposed to answer these forms truthfully, which he did not. So Hunter Biden was not truthful, and this is all coming out. Now, they originally tried to cut a plea deal, you'll recall, right? There's a nice little deal that was somehow reached until one of the judges was like, I can't sign off on this, because not only was he going to agree to some kind of community service for having purchased this weapon while under the influence of these illicit substances, but ladies and gentlemen, somehow they put it into the fine print that he was going to get off with any kind of tax evasion issues or foreign lobbying that he had participated in. Don't forget, like, this is how he's been making his money, right? You go around the world and you say, hey, guess who my dad is? And you don't register as a foreign lobbyist, especially when your dad is actually running Ukraine policy and you are working for companies in Ukraine that need his quote unquote protection. I mean, this is bizarre. He never registered. And so that's all problematic, and then never paid the taxes on it. So yeah, he was in a little bit of trouble for that. But the judge, credit to her, was like, I can't sign off of this. I've never seen anything like this before. So I bring this all up because at what point is it so much pressure that Joe Biden's like, okay, I can't really do this anymore. Let me cut a deal with you guys. You let Hunter off, and I'll let Michelle run. Did I say it? Michelle? I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, crazier things have happened. I do think that it's going to be hard to get Biden out of the picture. They can't just take it away from him. It's like when you have an elderly parent who wants to keep driving and you're like, no, sorry, you got to take away the car keys. I mean, this guy's really get the car keys, right? This is the keys to the kingdom. He's leader of the free world. He's not going anywhere. He's worked his entire life, some 50 years in politics to get to this stage. You think you're going to take it away from him now? People, as they get older and have the struggles that Joe Biden seems to have, they tend to get a little bit belligerent. And so I don't think they can go and say, hey, Joey, let's enjoy the rest of your life. And you know what? I don't think Jill, his wife, Dr. Jill's willing to allow that either, because I think she knows, like, once he doesn't have this, he doesn't have anything. So she is going to do everything she can to prop him up and keep him in the game, assuming he can make it till November. So they want to pull it away. They might try and pull it away. They might use Hunter as a little bit of bait. But again, remember who you're dealing with. Would you have really chosen to be president of the United States knowing what your son was up against, knowing that all of this was going to come out? I mean, that's when I think you put ego aside and you say, you know what? That's not going to happen. I am not going to run for president because my son is in too delicate a state. And instead, he chose this path, right? He chose this path because he is who he is. And now the Democrats can lord that over him in some way, shape, or form, and potentially take it away from him ahead of the convention. Very interesting. This convention is going to be online. They're not having a real convention. Why is that? I mean, that's a good question in and of itself, right? Does that tell us that they're up to something? Could they give it to Kamala? Real question. By the way, don't kid yourself. Effectively, Trump is running against Kamala. I mean, you want to talk about easy breezy. Kamala, who I don't think anybody wants to elect because nobody could stand 4 years of the laugh, right? We have some videos.
Poor hubby. Poor hubby. Nah.
Right? You could barely stand 30 seconds of it, let alone 4 years of it. So Kamala, between the laugh, which one of her political consultants really ought to talk to her about, and her inability to articulate herself. We're talking word salad on steroids. I mean, she really makes, they went after Sarah Palin for this stuff. I mean, Palin pales in comparison to what Kamala Harris is out there saying. Watch.
It's very important, as you have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present, and to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past but the future.
Sometimes I think she's just like, okay, let me find as many big words as I can, and then I'm going to string them all together. And people will think I'm smart, even though I'm not. But it's a technique, you see, that she's using to try and distract, right? If you throw enough big words in there, nobody's going to notice. They might actually think you're smart until they hear you laugh, of course. So Kamala Harris, with her root causes of immigration, she was supposed to solve the border crisis, right? But then forever wouldn't even go to the border. That really turned out well. Yeah. Kamala is effectively who Donald Trump is running against. Now, if that comes out, it's game over for Biden and Kamala, right? If people really stop and they take a minute and they think, is it Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump? Well, you know what? Donald Trump wins that all day long. All day long. Because she's not likable, all right? Like Joe, I don't find him likable, but I'm not everybody, right? And a lot of people actually do, and they go for the ice cream thing and whatever. So, okay, you do you, but I'm just being realistic. There's nothing likable about Kamala Harris. And this isn't a woman thing. This is just a human being thing, okay? Like, there are people that have the je ne sais quoi in politics and those that don't. Kamala does not. This is why she bombed in the New Hampshire primary. She is not a talented politician. She's not even able to keep a staff around her. So no, she doesn't win. So what do? Like if people start to figure out that she's actually running, I mean, look, if you elect Joe, do you really think he's going to be there for 4 years? If people start to really figure this out, again, the favor goes towards Trump. So if you're a smart Democrat, how do you let him run? How do you let Kamala run? You don't. Okay, you don't. You start casting a wider net, but you got a problem, you see, because a lot of black women will be really mad if you don't put Kamala in the slot. You see, you're bypassing an African-American woman. You can't do that if you're the party that's all about African-American women. So what is their solution? It could be this woman who's doing a big TikTok extravaganza for her new book that's out. Michelle. Do we have these TikToks?
Yeah. Go undercover because I have not seen my book actually.
So Michelle Obama, I'm going to talk over it a little bit. Michelle Obama has a new book out, and she just is sort of like photobombing these bookstores that are carrying her book. So she's traveling all around the country and then just sort of anonymously on the down low showing up at these places to sign books. And she goes in and mysteriously signs her book. And then you go to the bookstore in hopes of maybe seeing one of these signed copies of her book. It's a total gimmick, but this is what she's doing. Now, I just ask you this question. Why is she writing a book? Like, who cares? And by the way, it's not easy to write a book, all right? It takes a lot of time. Why is she doing this? Oh, money. But you know what? She has a lot of money. So she doesn't need the money. So why would you do this right now? And why would you do the big TikTok tour? Unless you have bigger aspirations. Unless you're going to come in and save the country with that Democrat convention that's happening virtually. You know, the reality is if she was actually running, she couldn't get elected like for a long period of time because her favorability ratings would not be high enough. She's very annoying after time and doesn't really seem to love America or believe in America. We went through that before, right? When her husband was president, the team had to say, Michelle, take a step back. We can't have you out front and center because no one likes you, right? Well, you know, she's been away from the political eye for a little while. So maybe she could come back and maybe people have forgotten. I think this is what they're betting on. And as long as you don't have her out there too long, then she might do okay. And people think, oh, we're going back to Obama. We're going back to this normalcy, this, that, and the other. I'm just saying, don't count it out. All right. This is something to be watching for. And I would not be surprised if it happens.